Hello, everyone. So, before we begin, I've just been informed by the tech people that they're having a small issue with the speakers. So, we're just going to take the first minute to help them resolve this issue. They're going to be playing a high frequency pitch or sound of some sort for like the first 10 seconds just to test the equipment. And they want to know if you guys are able to hear it. So, just raise your hand when we play it so that we know that we're good to go. Okay. Wilson, are you ready? Okay. We're going to go. We're going to play it in 3, 2, 1. Great, thank you all so much. Now, if you heard the sound and raised your hand previously, can you please raise it up again? Now, hold your hand up and I want you to look around you. That's just about everyone in this audience with their hands up. But here's the thing, no sound was ever played. So just take a moment and think to yourself, why did you raise your hand? That is social influence. Social influence is defined as any change in an individual's thoughts, feelings, or behaviors caused by other people. We've all fallen victim to it. For instance, when I was growing up, I was friends with a big group of pretty white girls. And my thought was, huh, if I want to be pretty, and if I want to fit in, and if I want to be seen as more white, then I should be a blonde. Because obviously, that is the only reasonable conclusion that I could have made. I have brown eyes, they have blue eyes, can't really fix that. But hair, I can just bleach hair. So I did, and I should not be a blonde. Ever. This decision, while seemingly trivial, illustrates a broader truth about human behavior. It's that we often conform to those around us. There have been multitudes of social experiments that have been done to try to understand human behavior and why we give into social conformity. One of the most famous of these experiments was conducted by psychologist Solomon Asch in the 1950s. This study is best known as the line conformity experiment. The task was simple. Participants were asked to compare the lengths of line X against lines A, B, and C, and to choose the correct corresponding line length. Now the answer is obvious. The correct line length is line C. So if the task was so simple, and if the answer was so obvious, then surely participants would give the correct answer, right? Wrong. So here's where the twist came in. The participants were surrounded by a group of actors, if you will, who were instructed to give the wrong answer. So as the experimenter went down the line of people asking for the correct answer, every actor confidently declared that the correct answer was, in fact, line A. And because of this, despite knowing the correct answer, a significant number of the participants also agreed that the matching line was line A. Now, looking at this experiment, most everyone thinks, myself included, gosh, that is stupid. Because I know the correct answer, so I would stick to the correct answer. Honestly, when I first heard this experiment, I thought it was so ridiculous, because why would anyone fall for that? But that's the really interesting thing about human nature, is that we're all aware that peer pressure exists, but we all believe we're immune to it. So if this is you, I want you to challenge that belief. Because much like Asch's experiment, where the participants knew the correct answer but went along with the group, many of you raised your hand when no sound was played. And this wasn't because majority of you truly hallucinated a silent ringing sound. It was because you saw other people's hands go up, the actors I placed in the crowd, and felt the need to fit in. We have an innate desire to feel accepted and liked by others, and we often fear social rejection if we deviate from the group. And this phenomenon drives us to align our behaviors and opinions with the majority, even if we privately disagree. And although seeing others raise their hands played a major role in your decision to raise your own, there was another factor at play. So this brings us to Stanley Milgram's obedience experiment. While Asch's experiment dealt with peer pressure, Milgram wanted to see just how far people would go when following orders from an authority figure. The participants were instructed to administer what they thought were painful electric shocks to the learner as instructed by the experimenter. In reality, though, these shocks did absolutely nothing because, ethics. But despite hearing cries of pain, most participants continued delivering shocks of increasing voltage, simply because an authoritative figure, the experimenter, told them to do so. And while the objective of this experiment was to test how far people would go to obey authority, even when it involved causing harm, what made people so willing to obey? So I want you to consider the environment. Milgram's experiment was conducted at Yale, a prestigious institution with an authoritative figure in a professional lab coat. Participants believed that they were taking part in important scientific research, which, to their credit, they were, just not the research they thought they were taking part in. This setting made the participants feel like they were a part of something credible, which justified their obedience. And this is implicit influence. Implicit influence is the subconscious impact of feelings, hidden biases, and attitudes that shape our decisions and behaviors without us even realizing it. Even the lab coat that Milgram had the experimenter wear was gray instead of white, as to assert authority without triggering the usual associations of medical and scientific expertise. Just as the environment in Milgram's experience influenced behavior, the seemingly professional setting here likely contributed to your willingness to go along with the crowd. In the beginning, when I introduced the supposed technical issue, asking you all to raise your hands if you heard a high frequency sound, I stood here in a microphone, in an uncomfortable outfit, the TEDx logo behind me, a spotlight literally shining down on me as I was elevated above you. And this made me appear to have authority. This facade all acted as a means to legitimize what I was saying, and that sense of trust influenced your actions in ways you might have not otherwise considered. Think about that. You didn't just trust the situation, you trusted me. The stage, the microphone, the TEDx, the actors I placed in the audience, and the way that I presented myself. It all gave me influence over your actions. It made it just that much easier to believe me, even though everything I was saying was a lie. And I'm not telling you this to help you have greater influence or to become a politician or to develop trust issues. I am telling you this because it is important to understand what drives our behavior. So let's just take a moment to reflect on what happened here today. You participated in an experiment where no sound was played, yet many of you raised your hands. Why? Because of the influence of those around you, the authority I appear to hold, and the environment we were in. These invisible forces of social conformity and compliance shape our behavior more than we realize. And this is the essence of herd mentality, the tendency to follow the behaviors and beliefs of the larger group without stopping to question them, all in pursuit of acceptance and belonging. It's why you raised your hand, and it's why I was a blonde. But we often think that we're making decisions independently. But studies like the ones conducted by Ash and Milgram, and even the experiment you participated in here today, that you did not know you were participating in, and for that I apologize, but these experiments show us that we are far more susceptible to the pressures of others than we'd like to admit. Whether it's the desire to fit in or the urge to follow orders from someone that seems to know better, we can find ourselves making choices we might not otherwise usually make. But understanding these forces gives us the power to question them and to become aware of why we may be behaving the way that we are. When we recognize how easily we can be influenced, it allows us the ability to make more conscious, more deliberate choices we actually want to make. Because at the end of the day, you are still entirely responsible for your own behavior. Thank you.